All right. Um, there's the editor. Introductions have been made on YouTube, and some um, ideas have been shown. I'm just going to show you what to do with what you've made. So let's start off with opening up dayz editor. I'm showing my whole screen here, so it makes life easier. I've got two screens, so everything is off on the side there. So let's get up the editor, have a cup of tea. Hopefully, the sound is working. Got a bit of a cold. That might be a problem. Hopefully, I won't sneeze. You all see me turn my head, look at the other monitor every now and then, make sure that what you're seeing is what I want you to see. No point having talking about things if you can't see it. So we're going to open up the Norris map and have a cup of tea. It'll take a little while. So we're in editor. We've let's just make something, I suppose. Go somewhere on the map. Where are we anyway? Ah, we're there. Okay, so this is roughly the centre of the map. So we'll come over here. Noticeable. I think it's noticeable. Yeah, that's noticeable. So this is roughly the centre of the map here. A bit further over here actually. Anyway, yeah, so we're here. Just put our character on the ground. And we're just going to make something simple and what to do with it. So let's start off with the simplest thing is containers. Everybody's familiar with a container, so we'll just containers down. You can imagine this as buildings and other stuff that you decided to build. It's a trader for it's a group of things. So I'm going to lock these. Select all, press L. They're all locked, so they can't be messed about with. You can, of course, you can select it and you can duplicate it. So you can do that sort of thing, but locked. Can't accidentally move it. See? Right, so that's a matter if they're floating in the sky. Don't worry. But we're just gonna. What we're gonna do. What we're doing. We're showing you the outputs. How you're gonna save it. So you're gonna export it. So we're going to export it. There are several options in export. The basic option is to just file, save as, container, export test. Need 2 40 test. Export test. Put a capital on that one. There we go. Okay, so going to export it. It's going to be binarized, or you can uncheck that box. I'll show you. Let's start with unbinarized .ze file. So we're going to save it. Now, we've saved it. We need to actually get to our desktop, if it'll let me. I'm in game. Let me see if I can. There we go. So what we need is we'll need that folder. My server is on my computer, so you'd be using FTP for this sort of thing to get to your server. So this is the folder you'd see when you FTP. So this is what's on the server, but we're gonna leave that there because what we need to look at our computer as well. Now on your computer you've got your documents folder, and in the documents folder you'll find the dayz folder. Open up dayz folder. Inside there you'll find the editor folder. This is where your DZEs are kept. There's our DZE. So we'll double click on that. It's an unbinarized DZE, and drag that across here. This is what an unbinarized DZE looks like. Okay. A lot of you will binarize DZEs. I have no idea why you'd want to do that. It'll show you the camera position, which is where I was working from. It shows you all the other information as well. Orientation, scale, flags, and other information. This DZE file you actually will copy and place inside permissions, map name, and editor files. You'll actually take this DZE from the editor folder, you'll copy it across to your server folder. So np missions, Generals Plus, editor files, if you have got the dayz editor launcher. Now, dayz editor launcher is a mod that comes from zoom up a plain one here, and we'll get to it. Team Workshop. So there we go. dayz editor loader. That's the file you need, and that has to be installed into the server. The server run once. We'll create the folder editor files. Once that's created, you don't have to do anything much else. It has to be loaded as a client side though, not just server side. Players need to have that as well. Makes things work much easier. And then you just drop your DZE straight in here. Now, whether it's important to have a binarized or a non-binarized file, I don't really know. So I've been working mostly binarized myself. I've never tried exporting non-binarized because they're generally not necessary to worry about things like that. So we'll save that as well as a non-binarized, and you'll see that one didn't have a name. So when you save, you can save it, and it will come up like this. A straight save as will come up as nothing DZE. You need to give it a name. Container export test 2. We call it export test 2. The first one we exported was a non-binarized. The second one is binarized. Come on, you can do it. And you'll see the size is different. The binarized is much smaller and loads much quicker than a non-binarized. Sorry. So again, we'll put this one over here. Both exactly the same, but you can see one's 4 times as big. That's the non-binarized one. So you might find it actually much better to binarize your files. It's smaller, faster to load, and that's very important when you're on a server. So that's one way of loading the build onto the server. The next way is to export it in different formats. So what we need to do, we need to select all, file, export. You can export it as an ini. You can export it as a VPP. And the very bottom one there, JSON. Now, the latest way of dealing with builds is to do with the new gameplay, config gameplay.xml file. And that loves the bottom one here, the JSON. So we're going to say, what's this one? What do we call this? Oh, yes, container export test 3. This is number test 3. Each one's given a different name, and you don't have to select everything, yeah. But if you do want certain things to be exported, you can select them and export them over with the checkbox. We're just going to export everything, so we don't need to select anything. So we export that, and it's saved, exported as JSON. And let's have a look at the JSON file. Very similar to the unbinarized one we did earlier, dayz file, but this one here has a different formatting. You can see there's a few bits missing, like the flag, and some other unique items. So dayz files, the dayz files have the ability to allow you to delete stuff in the background, for instance. So let's just have our delete brush, and we'll delete the trees there. Once you've deleted it, they should appear in the right hand side. These trees are part of the map, and they have specific names. You cannot spawn these trees. If you try to find them in the site here, you won't get these trees at all. You can delete them, you just can't spawn them. You can see the red means it's deleted. And if you click on them, you can see which one you've deleted. You see it? Let's get a bit closer so you can see. So in the delete list, you can select one, and they'll show you what it was, and a little red square to show it's deleted. You can't do anything with it. That's it. You can delete it. These trees you can chop down. You can hack up. You can build fires and everything with. The ones that you put in from the left, you may be able to put them into the map, but you can't utilize them. You can't use them for wood. They are just that. They're just placeholders. Picea ABs, Picea ABs. That was a 3-footer. Picea ABs 3-foot. Try to find. That'll do. Try the B. Alt. Bring it down. And that is the same tree. Okay, the orientation's slightly out, but it's effectively the same tree. One you can chop down, and one you can't. So this one, the builder plant, you can't chop down. But the native trees, which was there a second ago, these native trees you've deleted, you can chop down. And you'll see that it's blowing in the wind. Whereas this one doesn't move at all. It's just a placeholder. It's It's just a prop. I'll have a look here. Build a plant T. It's a shame you can't do anything with it. You can enable simulation. It doesn't do anything. Maybe it has a little bit of movement in the leaves. Let's get a little closer and you'll see. There we go. You've got a bit of movement in the trees, in the leaves, in the branches. But there's no other thing. Enable physics means it'll drop through the world. I wouldn't switch that on. You can enable damage and that sort of thing. And you can lock it. That's it. That's as much you can do. You can't chop it with an axe. You can't interact with it really, which is a shame. It's work in progress. So let's unlock that. We don't need that because we're working on other things. So anyway, that's how you delete stuff as well. Anyway, so let's these are interactable. Remove that from the list like that. So where were we? We were talking about these difference between DZE and the JSON. Now, whenever you export anything from editor, it'll appear in the documents dayz editor folder, and then you'll have to FTP it across to your server. So might be worth having a look at that. So let's have a look. Where were we? Date modified. That's JSON. This one, the JSON, you don't put in the editor files folder. You actually put it. Let's cut that from there. You actually put it into a custom folder you made. I've called mine custom builds, and you can paste it in there, and we'll have it running at the top there. The JSON has to be done in a different way. Let's remove these in the gameplay file, CFG gameplay.json, which lives in the Sonoros folder. CFG gameplay there. This file allows you to just add in the file to the server. Like this, you have to have the path to the folder you made, and then the file name that you've got in there. And this one is that. We'll copy the name from there, and we'll push it in here. Now, you've got to have .json extension. So if you don't have that, it won't work. Surrounded by semi-quotes. So path to the folder, file name, JSON. Make sure all your file names. These are all the other JSONs that I have running. Each JSON is separated by a comma, and you can have as many as you like. You can even have them in a single line, like that, for instance. I find it so confusing. I'm splitting up in separate lines makes life a lot easier. When you first open up the file, you'll just see object spawn array and the double square brackets. Just split it out. Doesn't hurt. These are the months of the year with the temperatures. You can work that one out. That's another story entirely. So anyway, we've added our file here into this custom folder. We've uploaded it, FTP'd it, whatever you want to do, and we've made a reference to it, the folder name, where it is, and the file name, and it's a JSON, and then you save that. That's what you do with the JSON exports. For the if you want to export it to an init.c, which is the original way of doing things, you would export to init.c, container, test, export, gives us a number 4, and we've exported that. Go to our editor. Again, it's in editor. We'll open it up, and this is what you put into your init.c. So you need to open up your init.c, which is the right location. So in your MB missions, you'll find your generous folder. In there, you'll find your init.c. Now this runs the whole server. Now the way the server map is created and generated. So you need to copy this bit here, place it at the top of the list. Ignore this. This is my commenting. This is a different method. So you paste your spawn, what's called the spawn helper, above the void main. When you first open it up, all you'll have is that. It'll look like that. Then you paste in your helper, spawn helper. This is an older version of spawn helper, don't worry. They all work the same. Then you take your object you've created, like this, and then you paste that generally around about here. I find pasting after Hive works the best. So we'll copy that, and then you open up your init.c. You've already put your spawn helper in, and then paste in your objects. Now the fun bit is, imagine you've got lots of edits. This init.c file is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because you're going to be adding more and more objects. Eventually it gets so big that init.c may fail, or there may be an error in something you've done. You might have accidentally deleted a semicolon or something. Accidentally delete it, and you've broken your server. The server won't start. It'll all mess up. So that's the old way of doing things. I say the old way, the original way of doing things, of spawning items on your map. Then along came the dayz method, and then along came gameplay method. Gameplay is latest and works very well, and saves you breaking your init.c. So you don't need any of this in your init.c. So let's put myself back to where I like to have the helper sitting here in the init.c, just in case I ever want to do something else. The other way to work with the .c file that you saved, remember the .c file? Go find it. There it is. It's called .c file. What you can actually do, you can actually include it in the init.c. It's the same file virtually. So file export, and you'll see it's an init.c. So you can export that init.c, and then you can do it very similar to the gameplay method of installation, and that is you have a custom folder, and in the custom folder you put your .c files. For instance, I've got some .c's in here, and we'll take, that's a trader.c, for instance. Once you put it in your custom folder, you can reference it, copy the name from there, come back to your init.c. Oops. and you put it in at the top as follows. You do a hash include, open quotes, $current directory tells the server from this location, follow this path, and this is the path to the file. You have to have 2 slashes, the main folder, the map folder, plus your custom folder, and then you paste in the name of the file. Once that's pasted in, you come down into the void main area, and you have to add the file in a specific way. And what you do, I've deleted the regional reference I had there. Let me see if I can find something. I believe I'm correct. Here's what you have to do. You have to put that. So the name of the file, and then round brackets, semicolon. That activates the file that's referenced here. Those 2 names are the same, file extension, and the function, post function. And that calls that line, and the item spawns. So I'll just comment them out, because I don't use it. I use the gameplay method. I quite like that method. There's no messing about with init.c. So let me just undo all this, because this is my live file, and I don't particularly want to break my server at the moment, but those are several ways to spawn in what you want. I find that the gameplay method is much nicer. There is a VPP method, but that gets a little complicated, and I won't do that there. So those are several ways of getting your builds onto the server. If you're doing the gameplay route, you will need to go to your root of the server. You need to find your it's called server dayz on my computer, but it's basically the file that boots the system up. And in here you would need to add this line here. Enable CFG gameplay file equals 1. It turns on the gameplay file, and then you can mess about and put your stuff in here. But you need to make sure it's activated there. For instance, here for VPP disable password, if you don't like putting your password in every time you join through the server or whatever, you can disable your VPP password there. So that's something else you can have a look at. But that's in your dayz config file, the one that boots the server. Your host may call it something else. Host calls things differently. I don't know why. Pain in the neck. There you go. That's hopefully that was a brief introduction of what to do. Hopefully you understand. Excuse my mutterings, but there we go.